today's Top Gear, the lighter way to enjoy an M3. A bevy of old BMWs. And we find the best sports car in the world. Good evening. Now, those of you who were watching last week may remember that the Stig attempted his most daring stunt yet. He went out to HMS Invincible and... Now, I guess some of you will be expecting him to walk through the door with a comedy fish in his helmet. But I'm afraid I have some bad news. The Stig is dead. And so we've prepared this little tribute to the easy-listening man in black. Looking fast. Oh, that is very fast. Good Stig. Oh, lurid tail slide, but he's still kept the power off. Stoke up the Stig. It's up to a huge speed.
And he crosses the line in!
My car. And to get it back, he'll have to be a genius. He's sideways, he's lost it! One of these days he's going to kill himself, we're going to need a new Stig. Stig. Very sad day. But there's plenty more where he came from. So, ladies and gentlemen, a very big hand, please, for Top Gear's new Stig! Like the last one, the dead one, this one will be letting his driving do the talking. And he'll be doing just that, actually, a little later on in this. It's a new super-fast version of the BMW M3. And we had the devil's own job thinking where we could test it. Then it struck us. It was obvious. The Isle of Man. This is the CSL, a trixied-up, hunkered-down road racer that's come among us, shaved, spruced, and wearing a £58,000 suit. So, why the Isle of Man, then? This little island in the middle of the Irish Sea is most famous for motorcycles. But there's so much more to it than that. There are castles. This one is home to the Morthy-Do, a huge dog that terrifies people to death. Nigel Mansell used to live here. Rick Wakeman and Norman Wisdom still do. It's like Beverly Hills, with kippers. There's tradition too. This place is home to the first ever water wheel, an old train, some cottages, and the oldest parliament in the world. And now we're getting to the nub of the reason why I came, the politics. You see, the Queen is the head of state here, but the Isle of Man is not in the EU, and Tony Blair is not the Prime Minister. Which means that when you get out of the villages, there are no speed limits. They haven't really heard of the nanny state here. And you're taxed at 10%. And there's nothing to stop me going round this corner like this. This then is the ideal place to test the most hardcore BMW ever made. To save weight, which is the killer in any good car, you don't get electric seats, you don't get air conditioning, you don't even get a radio.
Think of it as a BMW with bulimia.
I suspect if you brimmed the tank right to the top, it would find that an affront to its weight-saving programme and would simply vomit it all out again.
And the diet isn't limited to the interior either.
The roof, as you can see, is made from carbon fibre. The rear window is made from special thin glass. The boot lid is made from plastic. And the floor of the boot, and I'm not joking, is made from cardboard. This car is as light as a buttercup. But under here, you'll find the heart of a medieval Manx dog. You even look at that engine, they'll kill you. They've managed to squeeze 355 brake horsepower from a 3.2. It's unbelievable. And to show you how serious BMW are with this car, look at these tyres. They're like racing slicks. You have to sign a disclaimer before you buy a CSL saying that you understand that the tyres won't work in the rain or if it's a bit chilly. What a car.
Of course, it isn't especially comfortable or quiet, and you can't put heavy shopping in the boot in case it falls through the cardboard floor. And you can't use it unless it's hot and sunny. And if it is hot and sunny, you'll melt because there's no air conditioning. And if rain is on the way, you won't know because you can't hear the weather forecast because there's no radio. Not the most practical car in the world then, but when you get out of the villages and into the Isle of Man's de-restricted inner centre, it is just incredible.
Everything about this car is 10 or 20% better than I was expecting. And I was expecting it to be seriously good. I mean, the acceleration is just fabulously savage. The balance of the chassis of these tyres mean that you get so much G-force, you feel like your liver is going to let go of its mountings before the rear end starts to slide. And then there's the noise. Can you hear that? Oh. Listen to that. The noise is astonishing. This car was made for this place. It was just made for the Isle of Man.
It is a remarkable machine, and as such it has a remarkable price tag of nearly 60,000. Of course, some say it can't possibly be worth 20,000 more than the normal M3. But this is not the first time BM have ripped out all the equipment, then jacked up the price. Remember the old CSL, the Batmobile that tore up Europe's racetracks in the 70s? Well, those of you with long memories will remember they made a road-going version of it.
I used to have one of these a few years ago. I love the 70s-ness of them. The chrome wheel arches, and ooh, let's make the stripes a little bit brighter. You got them in lime green and orange. Look at those bucket seats. And the wood on the dash is exactly the same wood that you used to get on a Garrard 86 SB turntable. I used to have one of those as well, actually, come to think of it.
I fear I also owned this record, but that's not important right now. What is important is that the old CSL came out in the middle of the 1973 oil crisis, sporting a price tag of £7,500. And that made this lovely little road car with its lightweight panels and its stripped-out interior more expensive than the most expensive Aston Martin. On that basis, the new car should cost £180,000. So at 60, It's a bargain. If I had to nitpick, and obviously I do, then I'd centre on this area here. I mean, the sport button, which makes it more sporty. Why? Why isn't it just more sporty all the time? The button that turns the traction control off. Again, why? Why isn't it off all the time? Then there's this one here that adjusts the ferocity of the flappy paddle gearbox. Why can't they just give me a manual? It could be so much simpler. Overall, though, I think the CSL is magnificent. Like the Isle of Man, it's a thorn in the side of the nanny state, a wonky roof tile and the health and safety executive's vision of perfect Britain. It's BMW at its absolute best.
The thing is, though, I'm not sure that BMW, at its absolute best, is quite as good as Porsche at its absolute best.
No, I know what you mean. Perfect example, the 911 GT3 Porsche on the show last week. They're very similar. I mean, they're both stripped out, lightweight, essentially track cars. But the 911, it's that bit more expensive, yeah, but it's that bit more powerful, it's that bit faster, it's just better, ultimately.
I agree, but we'll find out for sure now. Time to warm up our new Stig. So, wheel spinning off the line. Now remember, the tyres on this car don't work properly when it's cold or wet, and it's a bit of both out there today, so the Stig has really got his work cut out. Oh no, no, I thought we'd heard the last of musical cheese when the old Stig drowned to death. Now, Chicago. CSL's looking awfully twitchy. Now, I should explain, new Stig likes music from TV commercials. You may know that as Boccherini's Minuet. He calls it the tune from the Building Society ad. He's sliding again out of Hammerhead. He's really having to fight this car. Ooh, that's quick. Coming up now to the last corner. Old CSL halfway through was 2 seconds quicker than the normal M3. Coming up to Gambon. We nearly did a Gambon. He's across the line. That was quick.
That was very quick. And can I just say, it looks like the newer, whiter, brighter Stig is going to be up to the job. That was pretty good.
I've got the time as well. Now, bear in mind, there's the standard M3 in the dry, 131.8. Okay? The GT3 we were talking about, in the wet, 127.
That's the fastest wet lap we'd ever
Fastest. Now, I'm going to call that trap. Bear in mind, Stig did that on the CSL's ludicrous tyres.
The near slick thing.
Near slicks, in the damp, so we'll call that a wet lap, okay? He did it in 1 minute, 28 seconds.
Good grief!
Goes there.
That's
1 minute, 28.
That's very, very quick. I'm amazed.
We've got ourselves a good little Stig there.
Yeah, we were right about the...
We were right about him, we were right about the car. Not quite as good as the GT3, but £15,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
Right, here is the news. Now, if you were watching last week, you will remember that we were asking, have the Italians forgotten how to style beautiful cars? We were looking at a new Ferrari, and Jeremy said, rather crudely, I thought, that it had no arse. Well, now we have another one. It's the Alfa Romeo 8C Competizione. And look at the arse on that, Jezza!
Oh, that's a gorgeous looking thing, that is.
No, it's hideous.
No, you're wrong. It's gorgeous.
It's quite promising.
That's
4.2 litre
horrid.
V8.
It's horrid.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful looking thing.
No, have we got that? There's an old Alfa Romeo. What was it called? The Brera.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm with
which was
Jeremy, I'm
a
afraid.
concept car.
That's better.
That is what the next Alfa Romeo should look like.
Look, it's got a hangover. It's got hooded eyes there. It's all mean and miserable.
That is good looking, and I will take no truck, and that's what the next Alfa Romeo should look like. Now, do you remember Lancia?
Yes.
Vaguely, they pulled out of Britain a few years ago. They made cars like the Thema. And I've got the 832 version of it here. That was the one with the Ferrari engine,
Yeah,
okay?
remember it.
It's just, hang on a minute. It's just down here. Scour the land for this. But I've got one. Here we go. That is a Lancia Thema 832.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah. It's in good nick, this one. It turns out that Lancia is still in business. And they've made a car which is phenomenally good looking. And we get it up? Look at this. That is a superb looking car. It weighs less than a ton, 1.8 litre engine, goes like steak. Fantastic car.
The good thing about it being so light, of course, is being a Lancia, every winter it'll get a bit lighter.
It will, yes. Until eventually, after 3 winters, we can have one on the table as well. But it is beautiful, that. And I hope Lancia comes back to Britain with it. I really do. I really, really do. Has anyone come across this 2580 service on their mobile phone? You know, when you're driving down the road, there's a record comes on the radio, I think, oh, I really like this, and the DJ network.
Oh, yeah.
They never
and
tell you. If you dial 2580 right down the middle of the mobile phone, hold it against the speaker, you get a text message telling you what you're listening to.
In your
I
case,
even
it'll
tested
just
it
say
on my
rubbish.
record collection the other day.
Not some of your stuff.
Camel, Snow Goose, got it in a jiffy.
I thought it'd switch itself off.
Focus, Moving Waves, got it.
Ooh, some poor devil had to listen to that.
You've never heard of those, have you?
I've heard of those records. I've never heard of this system. So you put your record on.
No, you don't put a record. Well, you can put a record on.
Then you know what it is, clearly.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Put it on. I wonder what this is.
I wonder what this is. I know. I'll ring up and find out. Oh yeah, it's what it is. It says on the
James,
cover.
you've got confused again.
James,
Anyway,
Radio
look,
James.
however it works is irrelevant because very soon you won't be able to do it anyway because, of course, December the 1st, all that telephone law starts off.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be... And it's very complicated from what I can gather, but essentially you're not allowed... Are you not allowed to touch it, or you can press a button?
I've got it here. In essence, you know this is happening on December the 1st. You won't be allowed to make a mobile telephone call while on the move. But they've had to be a bit careful because you are allowed to use a hands-free phone.
Yes.
But they say it will be an offence to hold a mobile phone in your hand or prop it between your cheek and shoulder. Yeah, you can't do that.
You can do that. Because if you just had it on your ear and not
Between
on your cheek
your ear and your
forearm. Like
forearm. I don't think they've covered that. Do you know the police don't even want these rules? The police said they had enough powers with driving without due care and attention. It's our meddlesome government once again.
And they're going after the wrong thing anyway, because I don't think phones are the big culprit. I mean, I'll tell you what's dangerous. My car.
Yes, I've been in your car.
Yes,
Bloody
but mostly
terrifying.
because at this time of year, it doesn't demist. Glorious
you're allowed
machine
to
though it
drive
is,
that?
but the engine's at the back, and I can't see anything for hours. I have to drive by ear. Clunk, that's the left. That's
Driving
the right.
while you want to pee?
That's lethal.
Ooh, that is lethal.
No, I'll tell you what's really dangerous. The ginster's pasty. Now, who's done this? No, this is serious. Right. The ginster's pasty is the most dangerous thing in society. You go into the petrol station, you fill up, you buy the ginster's pasty, you put it in the little heater, you come out to your car, you strap yourself in, you select first gear. You unwrap the ginster's pasty as you steer in first gear with your knees to the slip road that leads back to the dual carriageway. You look, it's clear. You floor it. You buy the ginster's pasty and it's red hot. And you fumble with the ginster's pasty, you're still steering with your knees, you're still in first gear, you're doing 18,000 revs at 70 miles an hour. Finally, you spit it all over the dashboard, it's straight into fifth in the cruise.
It's an idea, but I do have a way around, if we could just conclude on this, the mobile phone thing. We do what we've been doing for the last few years. Hang on a minute, I'm just going past a police car. It's okay, he's gone now. Because my favourite is they actually do say in this legislation is that you're allowed to press call answer, but you're not allowed to speak. What's the point of that?
Why would you...
So, hello? Hello? I can't talk. I can't talk to you. Marvellous.
Would anybody like to have a guess at what is the third most stolen car in Britain?
I don't know, some Beamer or other.
Beamer 3 Series is a good one.
Good guess. You're all wrong. It's the Vauxhall Nova.
Who in their right mind would steal one of those?
Well, it was exactly the lady here with a very pertinent question. Why?
Yeah.
If you're walking down a street, you're not going to say, you know, the BM, the Subaru, the Nova. That's the...
I mean, it's free, isn't it, when you steal them? You
Think
don't
of
have
all
to
the
pay.
things you would do with a stolen car. Yeah. Ram raiding? I think not. Oh, damn, I've run into this blade of grass and it's disintegrated. Joy riding?
Well,
again?
Joy?
I think not. So there's no joy to be had. What else do you do with them?
Shall I tell you why the Nova is being stolen?
Go on then.
It's economical, it's easy to park, it has a very low loading lip at the back for putting shopping and food. It's rather easy to get in and out of, it doesn't use much fuel, and it's got a very low insurance group. Which brings me on to another point. The second most stolen car in Britain, the Land Rover Discovery. The sixth most stolen car in Britain, the Mitsubishi Shogun. The eighth most stolen car, the Daihatsu 4-Track. And the 10th most stolen car, the Isuzu Trooper. For years...
4x4s?
Yes. For years, the police have been targeting youths in hooded jackets as car thieves. They're all grannies and farmers.
It is, they're farmers are stealing cars.
Stealing cars to go shopping and ploughing.
Right, enough of all of this, OK? Obviously, we've all come back, or a lot of people come back from their summer holidays, which have been ruined by caravans. Well, the good news is now it's payback time. Every summer they arrive, ruining our roads just so they can pull up side by side with their new best friends and pee in a bucket. You pick your caravan site, slot your Tupperware mansion into place inches from your neighbour, unhitch the family car and set off to visit an abbey, a pottery, an arts and crafts bungalow. You know the stuff. And there they are, all parked up. Magnificent sight. Real fiberglass, that. And seeing all those rows of little hermetically sealed sandwich boxes lined up gave us an idea. Well, we've got them, why not do something useful with them? So we've got the caravans, we've got the perfect caravan owner's car, a Volvo 240 Estate. And we've got this, a ramp. I think you can probably see where this is going. We're going to jump this over these using that. And before you write in to complain about cruelty to caravans, can I remind you this is a Volvo, the caravan's friend. And we're going to try and miss them. Honest. I think this is going to work. Probably.
You can't stop it there!
Did. This is science, and we've got to be a bit scientific about this. I want to see how many caravans you reckon the Volvo will clear. So if we can have, in fact, let's make this easy. Who reckons the Volvo is just going to vault all of them and do the lot? One guy.
One.
Okay. How many do you reckon, seriously, it's going to cover? Three? None.
That Volvo weighs 8,000 tonnes. I'm right, aren't I?
It's not very
doing 50 miles an
aerodynamic.
hour. I tell you now, it's just going to go clunk. It won't even reach the first one.
Don't worry, because we will find out later. We will. We'll do it later.
Now, earlier on, we saw Jeremy driving this absolutely outrageous M3 CSL on the Isle of Man. And back here at home, this gave me and Hammond an idea. We thought, well, what about that car's bloodline? So we took these three, and we boarded a ferry, and we went to the Isle of Man. This is the M1, BMW's first, and so far only, mid-engined car. Back in the 1970s, BMW had the hump because the Porsche 911 was winning absolutely everything in international sports car racing. And the Bavarians hate losing almost as much as they like brass band music. So what they needed was a proper bespoke sports racing car, something that would be a real feather in their felt hats. And they came up with this, the BMW M1. And it was a disaster. First up, it wasn't a real BMW. Because it was a rush job, they had to get Lamborghini to do the design, engineering and production work for them. But Lamborghini went bust, meaning BMW had to start again with some other people. But before they could do that, they had to break into Lamborghini and take back all the bodywork molds. Otherwise, the receiver would have sold them for scrap. And that was just the start of their problems. For the M1 to qualify as a racing car, 400 had to be made and sold to the general public. But rather like that old CSL we saw earlier, there was a bit of a cost issue. In 1979 in Britain, the BMW M1 cost about £35,000, which sounds very reasonable, until you discover that the Ferrari 308 GTS was less than 20 grand. And here's another thing, look. GRP, or plastic, to you, on a BMW. How much worse could it get? Well, while the car was being designed, the rules for sports racing cars were changed. So by the time it came out, it wasn't competitive anyway. What a farce. The real tragedy, though, is that this is a lovely car. The engine was BMW's own, a 3.5-litre straight six developing 277 horsepower. Now that doesn't sound that much, but it was also very light, just 1,400 kilograms. So 161 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds isn't half bad. This is a 25-year-old supercar, and to be honest, I expected it to be absolutely dreadful, but it just isn't. It's easy to drive, and it's actually quite civilized. Maybe it's more of a BMW than we thought. In fact, I'd say that the M1 enjoys the distinction of being the world's first truly user-friendly mid-engine supercar. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The M1 became a bit like the toasted sandwich maker. Everybody raved about it for a bit, but then chucked it in the back of a cupboard and forgot about it. But it wasn't a complete waste of time, because BMW's engineers salvaged a couple of useful bits. The first was that M badge from the boot lid, and the other was the excellent race car-derived straight-six engine. And they came together again in something much more practical.
The M cars, probably the best race-bred road cars there have ever been. The M3 and the M5.
Now this is an important car, the original Super Saloon. Today all the big players make a four-door Formula One car. Jaguar's got the XKR, Mercedes the E55, Audi the RS6. There's no end of sensible, practical cars that'll happily rip your face off, and we owe it all to the M5.
This is a 1988 Series 2, my personal favourite.
It's bulletproof and a huge laugh. 0 to 60, 5.9 seconds. Top speed, 155 miles an hour. It's properly quick, but at the same time, sophisticated. I mean, sophisticated by modern standards. This is precisely the sort of car that makes me want to visit the Isle of Man more often. Whereas this makes me want to live here. The original M3. Not just a great road car, but the most successful saloon car racer ever. And that's why the M3 is simply unbelievably good on roads like these. It's got proper race car steering geometry. I mean, it's quick. 0 to 60, 6.7 seconds. Top speed about 143 miles an hour, 200 brake horsepower. It's the way it delivers that power. Listen to it. It's fantastic. I don't want to stop driving this.
So the M1 was a cocker. But what a cocker. If we had more like that, the world would be a better place.
Isn't the Isle of Man just amazing?
Oh, it's fabulous. It's like somebody's gone out and designed Top Gear Fantasy Island, especially for us.
I was absolutely blown away by those kippers.
Yes, the
All he went
kippers.
on about, because there's no speed limits here, James. Ooh, I know, but the kippers.
I'll have another
They
kipper.
were good, though. I've never driven a car that drives so differently to the way it looks, because that is not a four-seater saloon. It's a race car with that body on top of it. It's brilliant. And on those roads, it was just, oh, it's perfection.
Yeah, no, they're all great. I like the M cars. And I like the Isle of Man. Sadly, though, my guest tonight, I don't think he can ever have gone there, because if he did, he'd be birched. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Fry!
Fine, thank you. Very good.
Have you been to the Isle of Man?
Yes, you go to the airport, you say, "I love man," and they say, "Not here, you don't."
I should explain.
It is illegal to love man in the Isle of Man.
It was illegal.
Yes.
And you could be birched for loving man there.
Yes, which is something people pay a lot of money for in London. So it's a kind of free service. It's a peculiar place, isn't it? You've spent much time there?
Yeah, I go there quite a lot, actually. It is, but some of the laws they have are fabulous. Handguns, for instance, are legal there. Yeah. And you can be charged with furious driving. I'd love to have that on my licence.
Furious.
But do you hanker after that kind of freedom?
Well, I'm a sort of lefty in a way, but I cannot tell you the overmastering hatred I feel, the waves of disgust when there is that that frowny woman on the bicycle who looks at you as if you are the symbol of all capitalism and meat eating and penis owning. You are the enemy of the people. You are the enemy of the planet. You are globalization. You are capitalism with a huge cigar, just because you might have slightly blown her off course on her blasted bicycle. You know that kind of...
And yet, none of this is kind of ringing true, because I know that the car you drive today,
Oh dear.
it is a Saab.
Yeah, all right.
Now, do you know something you will never hear anyone say? Look at that maniac in that Saab.
That's true.
It does. Saabs are the most beautifully driven cars on the roads. We're going to review one next week, actually, because I'm fascinated to find out what happens to you when you climb in a Saab that suddenly you become this.
It's peculiar, you're quite right, but I have to confess I am a speed merchant, and I came so close to losing my licence almost exactly a year ago. I was pootling along the M11 at 100 miles per hour, and fortunately they took an average, which was 99.8.
Well, that's an average from when you got into the car.
Yes, quite. From the centre of London. It's a very rare day I'm overtaken, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's pathetic. It's either infantile vanity or competitiveness, or it is, at best, a low boredom threshold. And so you want to keep just being on edge all the time so that you're awake.
And yet you, of course, also famed for having a London cab.
Yes, yeah.
Is that for use in London?
A purely practical decision. I just thought, eventually, driving around London as I did, I'd given up having a trail bike. I had
on a motorbike?
Yes, I know. It's a terrible wobbly sight.
That's something I would have paid to watch that go by.
I had a cousin who was a surgeon at in New York, in the casualty or trauma department, as they call it. And I was in a play, and we met afterwards at a restaurant. He saw me checking in my skid lid, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know you rode a bike." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you know what we call motorbike riders in the trauma department of the Roosevelt Hospital?" And I said, "No, donors." It's a bad sign, I thought. And then weirdly, a week later, it's absolutely true, a friend of mine had an aunt who had gone into Moorfields Hospital for one of those cataract operations. And the doctor came in and sort of rubbing his hand and said, "Well now, Mrs. Smith," he said, "I'm sure it's all been explained to you. We cut out that cloudy old cataract and we sew in a nice new, fresh, sparkly donor lens. Unfortunately, we don't have any donor lenses at the moment." And he went to the window and said, "But it's raining, so it shouldn't be too long." And he really meant it. Anyway, that stopped me from riding a motorbike, eventually. That and being banned.
So why a cab?
Well, I just thought the bike had been the great way of getting into town to do voiceovers and the things in the centre of town quickly. And I thought, I've got to have a car now. I wasn't near a tube station, and a cab seemed ridiculous. And I said, "What my own cab, on the other hand," not that I would admit to using bus lanes, obviously in public, because it's illegal if you're not a licensed cabbie, but let's face it, they do exist, bus lanes.
And you can drive in them if you have a cab.
If you have a cab.
Who's going to check the registration
And
plate?
other cabs let you in, cabaraderie, I call it. And most cars, you just stick your hand out of the window and you move out into traffic. I mean, that's the real game.
But it's strange, because most of the people I know who speak Latin find cars really rather trivial and infantile.
Yes, I think, as a generalisation, I suppose you're right, that this tweed does not bespeak someone who loves cars. People often say to me, "Oh, Stephen, you were born in the wrong age, weren't you? You would love to have been a high Victorian or a Regency dandy or, a Elizabethan or something." And it's absolute nonsense. I mean, I think to live at the summation of human achievement in everything from computing to the internal combustion engine is a wonderful thing, because we've got the past age. You can imagine that you're a Victorian, but if you're a Victorian, you couldn't imagine you lived in the 1970s. You couldn't imagine you lived in the 1990s. And the beauty of it is we are at the absolute peak of everything as we speak. This minute is the most modern minute that ever happened. It doesn't mean everything's good about it. Yeah.
We are speaking, just a week or so after we went over it in terms of aviation.
You're right, that is one of the rarest events, and whoever thought this would happen? I mean, there are a few things like that. We've crested, and suddenly we're going backwards, and that's a very rare event in recent history, isn't it?
I can't think of another time since the Romans left. No. Full 10.
No, that's right.
1600
we
years.
We abandoned the virtues of the lavatory for 700 years or something.
Absolutely.
It's extraordinary.
It is.
Extraordinary. Pooed out of the window.
Because you had a big car collection, didn't you, at one point?
Yes, I had 8 or 9 entirely British cars, which again seems to sound very tweedy. They were odd things like, I had a Wolseley 1550, which is that sort of police car-y one with a badge that lights up and a strange little visor.
Yeah.
And, an MG Magnet, one of those Pininfarina ones, you know, and an Austin Healey 106, which is a gorgeous car, ice blue over ivory.
So it does sound like you're sort of hankering back to those days. You claim to be a modern man, but in actual fact...
It's true, the B road, you know, it's that sort of thing, you know, Midhurst and, you know, southern counties of England going around the B roads like the Avengers or something. There is a real pleasure, a real joy emerging there.
And of course you do have a taste of that because you live in Norfolk.
Yes, you've written well and turgidly about Norfolk, not turgidly exactly.
Well, it was just at that time, not the first time I went there, but I can remember not that long ago, driving along a main road, filled up with petrol, and I gave the bloke in the cash point my credit card. He just put it in the till. No, you're supposed to swipe it.
This is the home of Lotus. It's an advanced, sophisticated county.
Now you see, that was a bad example.
Look, all right. No, it's a mysterious county. You go to a beautiful old world village with a sort of mullion windowed rectory with ivy over it and the squire's house and the beautiful old church, and then a sign saying hot rodding. You know, it's that sort of thing.
Tractor pull.
And they imagine themselves rather tragically to be good old boys. They have these rotting Mustangs with Confederate stars on the bonnet, rather hoping there's going to be some, you know, tobacco-chewing sheriff on their ass any minute. You know, they imagine they're in Alabama, and it's tragic because they're not. They're in Norfolk, and no one is going to say...
Telling the police, I've got some moonshine in the boot. It's fine.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's moonshine. I made it myself out of potatoes. What I'm most interested in, though, is... how you got on?
Oh, hell.
In the Suzuki Liana.
Oh,
how was it out there?
I have to say that I had fun. And I seemed to myself to be going faster than I usually do. But for all I know, I did it in 4 minutes. You just don't know because your mind's in a whirl. It's a totally different way of doing things.
How would you like to do on this?
I would like to be above Alan Davis, I have to say.
Alan Davis, your co-conspirator on QI.
Yeah.
So this is really your target, 1 minute 54 on a mildly damp track. What was the track like out there?
It was, I'd like you to put something like slightly moist or you know.
Because it's you, slightly moist. But let's see how you got on. What did you think of the car?
Oh, it's an angel. Absolutely. Joyous to drive. Look at him, doesn't he look a dick? Really?
Now, how's that? That's the hardest corner on the track.
Let's accelerate out of these things.
I see it is, you're right. That is mildly moist. Into the hammerhead. Yeah. And this one is you flick it in and then it'll always run wide, which it has done. Yes, nearly into the cameraman. That would have been on the news.
Oops. Oh, that looked good.
That's a lovely sky. That's a beautiful sky. And we've got Gambon, where he nearly rolled it over. Nearly killed Dumbledore before he ever was.
Whoa. Well.
S03E02. Oh. So I think we're all in agreement. That was mildly moist, the track. So we'll say it's the same as Davis's one, okay? Mildly moist. And you did it. You want 154 to beat. In 1 minute, 54 seconds. Oh,
well. That is really interesting. That is far and away the most common time, isn't it?
1 minute 54 in the rain is the most common. What we say is that if it were to be dry, you would take 4 seconds off that. So you would be in the 150, or mildly damp, probably only 3 seconds, so you're slower than me. That's the most important thing. It's been absolutely fabulous having you here, Stephen.
As it has for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Fry.
Thank you very much.
Right. Back to the caravans. Now, earlier on in the show, we saw as the Volvo 240 estate, the caravan's friend, remember, mounted the ramp and was about to clear the caravans, and then we stopped the tape and we all had a guess. The general consensus of opinion is that the Volvo is either going to clear all of the caravans or kind of drop miserably off the ramp. Good news is, now we find out.
So we've lined up our caravans in the accepted manner, allowing the regulation 12 inches of airspace in between each one. And here's our Volvo 240 Estate, the GL model.
3, 2, 1, go!
And he's off. Now, I should remind you, the national speed limit when you're towing a caravan is, of course, 50 miles an hour, and we will be sticking to that. We like a laugh as much as the next person, but that doesn't mean you have to be reckless. That is art. In fact, who wants to see it again? Yeah! Go on then.
Oh dear, so I was wrong. I didn't think it would clear any of them, and it was actually 2.1. But anyway, let's get on to some of our viewers' letters. Now, you may remember, last week, we discovered that if you hold your car's remote control central locking device against your head, it doubles its range, okay? Now, we didn't understand that.
No.
There was a girl in the audience last week who was a scientist, and she said it had to do with the fillings in your teeth.
Yeah, but we tested that.
We did. Our producer deigned to come into work one day, and
nice.
he has no fillings in his teeth, and it worked for him, so it isn't that. Loads of people have written to us, and all we've been able to discover is that no scientists watch Top Gear.
No, that much is clear.
Not one. There's a chap here who says the reason is it's because your body acts like a grounding plane, which sounds good. It sounds a sort of plausible explanation, but then you read on and he's got a GSXR 1000, which I believe...
That was brilliant. Yeah. He's a biker, sound fellow, I believe it. Lots of people think it is your body that does it. Guy here, Craig from Bromley, reckons it's because your body has iron in it.
Well,
but it does, but tiny bit.
I have no iron in my body. I am pure fat.
All the way through?
Yeah, I am just fat. From here down... Well, fat and hair.
What I say is it's nice to be consistent.
I am, yeah. There's a chap here called Zmkan at America Online, and he says it's human bones, a great amplifier of radio waves, and it's something to do with your elbows.
No, we had loads that were to do with bits of your body doing this. So we had one guy who reckons it's your ears working his radar, which I quite like. Another one, I'm not sure about this, saying it's your nasal cavities. Apparently they're as big as an acoustic guitar or something, which... They're not, are they?
Close, but
it's
I'm
not.
looking at you and I'm thinking it's quite a big schnozzer, but it's nowhere near an acoustic guitar.
That ain't no guitar. No.
You know, I'm not going to see you come up. That bloke's got a guitar on his face.
For a nose.
It's
No,
rubbish.
you're not. I know, there's some
I mean,
bizarre
what they're
stuff.
basically saying, I think what the audience is saying here is that if you were to build a creature that had my bone structure with sort of enormous elbows and Martin Clunes' ears...
Looking good.
...and Daniela Westbrook's nose...
Nice touch.
You could set off some nuclear missiles in North Korea from your house in Birmingham.
Yeah, perfect.
Another sequence of letters that we've had this week is from children who are ashamed, frankly, of the cars that they're being taken to school in. There's a chap here, George Howard, he's 14 years old. He says his father takes him to school in a 1992 white Fiat Panda.
Oh, no, that's cruel. That's not right.
He actually says, God has not answered my request for help, no matter how much I ask him. He says, I am so desperate I even tried sacrificing a small goat.
See, it's having an effect already. This is serious. This has a deep sociological effect. It's a short trip from being dropped off in a rubbish car at school to, well, they'll be kicking down the door of your bedsit and finding a head in your fridge next.
There will be.
You know, it's...
So listen, kids, you know, I know there's a lot of discussion in the newspapers and on TV about the school run, what it should be done in. It's what type of car. That's what matters. If you're ashamed by your parents' car, then write to us and we'll shame them. So George Howard of, where's he from? The internet. George Howard from the internet, Mr. and Mrs. Howard, sell the Panda.
It doesn't have to be expensive or a Ferrari, just not rubbish and embarrassing.
Exactly.
We'll have a nation of
Exactly.
loonies otherwise. Can I just say, obviously we had a lot of mail about the Stig. Odd one here from Steve Rowland. We have a cat called Stig. So can you please change the name of your racing driver to something other than Stig? Because every time your programme on his sleep is disturbed when you mention the Stig's name. Actually, come to think of it, Stig. See those slippers? Pee in them.
Tell you one thing that's really, really got us going this week. In our kind of young men, let's call them that. It tends not to happen with women, have taken to fitting enormous exhaust pipes on the back of their cars. Have you seen this trend?
Yeah.
Well, we were sent a fantastic photograph this week, and they're always on very inappropriate cars, but check this one out, okay? Citroen.
What's that?
Now, at first we suspected that perhaps he had an organ on the back seat and he went around playing ecclesiastical music of some sort. But no, I don't think so. I think it'll be the Black Eyed Peas coming out of the doors, and those really are exhausts.
How is that 9 on there?
9 exhaust pipes. And we were thinking, no one will ever be able to top that. And then somebody sent us this photograph.
What is it?
If you were following that, you would think, am I behind Sellafield?
Yeah, I'd get out of the way.
A military brass band. Who'd like to see the car it's attached to?
Yes.
Yep. It's a 1.6-litre Toyota MR2. Now, that was kind of heading the list. And then yesterday, from, I think it's America, check this one out.
Look at that! One day, somebody is going to drive up that thing and they'll get a big surprise.
So listen, if you've got a really stupid exhaust on your car, write to us at I've inadvertently reversed into a cooling tower at bbc.london.england.
All of that.
Something or other.
Wherever. Now, while we were on the Isle of Man, and we were there for a very long time, a bit of an argument brewed up. James reckoned that the best sports car you can buy is the Porsche Boxster. Pah! Obviously, I had to show him the error of his ways. Now, I love Porsche. I've got one, which makes it all the more significant when I say this. You can shove the Boxster. I'd rather have the Z4. It's a man's car. It feels like a proper roadster. You sit low down and right at the back, almost over the rear wheels, and a big bonnet stretching ahead of you. No, I don't care what you want to read into that. Feels great. And best of all, listen to that. Straight 6, 3-litre. That is a proper sports car's engine. Listen to that! This is a modern take on a proper old-school roadster, and I love it.
Rubbish! What you want is a Boxster. Some of you will be saying that that's a soft Porsche for people who can't handle a 911, but that's rubbish as well, because what this is what the 911 was before it was turned into Liberace's boudoir. It's a proper sports car.
Because the Z4 is a modern car, it does all the usual clever stuff, but it's that bit more sophisticated. Things like the electric roof, 10 seconds from fully up to fully down, and that makes it the fastest electric roof in production. Fantastic. Just don't catch your time. And then there's the looks. I love them. I think BMW have got this challenging thing going on at the moment, and yes, at first glance it's but you get used to it and then you realise they're right. It looks superb.
Obviously, driving a convertible yellow Porsche raises certain sociological issues. I mean, some people are going to look at me, I know, and think I'm a merchant banker. But I'm not sure I'm terribly interested in all this brand attributes stuff. This is a great car, that's what matters. For all I care, you can take the Porsche badges off and stick some Hondo ones on.
Do you know, mate, the more time I spend with it, the more sure I am I have picked the right car.
You haven't.
I am.
You haven't. The Porsches are more honest sports cars than that BMW.
Honest?
Absolutely.
You've got the wrong cars! Can you hear? You've got the wrong car!
Oh, God.
I've got the right one up here! Here!
I thought you'd gone home.
Welcome to the superb Honda S2000.
Let me give you the simple facts. This car is £5,000 cheaper than the BMW and £6,000 cheaper than the Porsche. And which is the most powerful? This one. this one is. The 2-litre VTEC engine in this is astonishing. At 6,000 RPM in the other cars, you have to change gear, but in this, there's 3,000 RPM still to go. 9,000 into third. That's what I call an engine. And this is legal.
But the power and the excitement is only part of the equation. The other bit is reliability.
In the last 13 years, Honda has made 15 million VTEC systems, and they have never, not once, had a single failure.
So it's powerful, extraordinary value for money and more reliable than a wood-burning stove.
The Porsche and the BMW, they've got great badges, but this is the essence of sports car motoring. Pure and simple.
And what was it that Richard was saying about the Z4 having the fastest roof in the world?
3, 2, 1, go.
Yes! 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 Loser!
Said in the book.
Don't believe the Germans!
Who cares how fast your roof is, anyway?
You cared! You cared! You were, oh, I've got the fastest automatic electric roof in the world, and now it turns out you haven't.
Like your lawnmower, then?
I was going to push my starter button. Have you got one of those?
Odd rattling sound. All right.
That night I met up with the others at our house to explain why they were so wrong.
Your car is American. It doesn't work here. It rides like a Corvette.
I have to say I'm with you on the ride in the BMW
The
thing.
ride in the... It is atrocious, isn't it?
It is a bad
This is
ride.
exactly what we were after.
Look, it's a physical experience driving that car.
No, the physical
Boxing is
experience,
no
the Honda is the one that... Are we agreed? The Honda is considerably the cheapest here.
Well, it needs to be.
No, it's
because the interior is-
5,000 less than yours, 6,000
Yes, fair
less.
enough, okay.
And it's more powerful.
The reason the Porsche, I think, is the best car is, you know, when you drive some cars, you get a sense that the car is smiling when you're driving.
What?
Yeah. No, listen, hear me out. No, you drive some
Jean-Paul
cars
Sartre
and
is
and they're smiling.
Oh,
and
what's
it's got
this
too many
bulge
gears.
in my pocket? It's the £6,000 I've saved by buying the Honda rather than your Porsche.
But that's not the argument either.
It's worth £6,000 less.
Why don't you save 20 grand and buy a micro?
Precisely.
I mean, that's not an argument.
because
because it's not the better car.
The next day, we all drove each other's cars to see if we could reach an agreement that way.
Thing is, I've never spoken to a Boxster owner, ever, without them starting to talk about why they haven't got a 911. There's only one reason you buy a Boxster. One. Because you can't afford a 911. That's it.
There are a few things I don't like about this pink car. It's got too many gears, 6, not enough cylinders, 4, and it does too many revs, 9,000. So listen, it's harsh.
This ride is totally unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. It's an American car, that's why the ride's so hard, because hey, it's sporty. That's sporty, got no suspension, it's sporty.
That night, we all met up at the pub to see what we'd all found out.
How many gears did your car have?
That'll be
Richard?
6, Jeremy.
How many did my car have? Do you remember?
I'm thinking it was probably 6 again. It was 6.
5 because it has
5.
better mid-range. No, it's got
Because it's
the reason it's
run out of puff if you got 5.
I'm afraid it was like trying to sort out the Middle East. Nowhere near as important, obviously, but just as impossible.
Cheers, welcome, 6 gear man.
It's so wussy. It's such a pair of wittering Nazi boys. I can't believe it. 6 gears.
Now I should explain, we didn't drive home from the pub. We had our butlers take us home instead. And still the debate raged. Richard, for instance, and this is marvellous, actually said he liked the ruched leatherwork in the
That's
doors
rubbish.
of the
It's
BMW.
not ruched. It
is ruched.
Slightly rippled a bit.
You said you thought they had a simple engine. Have you seen the cutaway diagram?
It was
It's got all the...
Look,
No,
all right,
Jeremy,
stop. The one thing that we did agree on, okay, the one thing we agreed on was this would be settled on our track by fresh Stig. So, we sent him out there, fastest lap wins. First up, the Porsche, and is it facing the right way, James?
Oh, yes, it is, and it will be all the way round thanks to that perfect weight distribution. First corner there, look at that balance, that's lovely.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you can't actually see there, and that's the steering wheel. It's like that on a ship.
No, well, this bit's going to decide whether you've got bad oversteer in a front drive car, and it's not going to do that because this has got the engine in the middle. It's going to be fantastic. Your cars are going to make a complete hash of this. Look at that. Come on, new Stig.
That's a bit wobbly.
No, it's not.
No,
It's
through the
perfectly
follow
fine.
through. Oh, it's so boring. I'm falling asleep.
Has he spun it?
Look at the speed
Oh,
of it there. Look at that. That is clearly victorious lap. Absolutely beautiful
Is it over?
Stig. Fabulous final corner and across the line. Massive speed. Oh, look,
And
it's an
now-
American plastic surgeon's car.
Look at it. Looks. Listen to this. Proper straight six. Massive speed already. Must be doing about 350 into the first corner there. Fabulous.
Of course, with its miserable 55-litre fuel tank, it'll have a job reaching the end of the lap. Oh, I'm nearly losing it there.
It doesn't actually need much fuel. The rate it's going, it'll be round in seconds.
It's an American car, more cup holders than cornering, I reckon. Look at that.
Here we go. Look, he held it. It's balanced. It's poised.
Slithering about.
Last couple of corners. Look at that. It's inspiring. I might cry actually. Gambon corner there. Oh, sounds great across that line. Oh dear, look what next. The Amstrad 2000, off it goes.
All the foregone conclusion, as I like to call it.
Stig probably baffled by the flashing lights all over the dashboard.
That's a clear, concise dashboard, if you ask me. And anyway, if you think about it, all proper race cars have digital readouts. The only thing baffling the Stig, in fact, is the power of this thing after the other two.
All that annoying screaming noise from the front end. That engine is ridiculous.
That is precision engineering at its best. The Stig plainly loving it. He just loves it. Look, you can see.
He's not sure whether he's driving or in a branch of Dixon's.
He's just amazed by the speed through Gambon. Here he is, look at that, little bit of a
All
twinge,
over this
perfectly
shot.
held and across the line. Now, genuinely, we have absolutely no idea at this stage which one of the cars has won it. So we need someone from the audience, you're nearest. Could you just come and help us out here? Could you please reveal for us now the time done by the BMW Z4?
Be good. 1 minute 37. It's a good solid time. It was not good weather.
That's awful time. Okay, and now the Porsche Boxster, 1:37.3 to beat. 1:37 dead!
Yes.
You're in the lead at the moment. You're already out of it, as I predicted. Probably ran out of fuel. Okay, here we go.
Oh,
the
not
Honda
the
S2000,
ridiculous Honda.
1:37 to beat. Yes! That's all we've got time for this week. I'm very sorry, but that's it. No voting.